Welcome to the Republican Professor. This afternoon, we have with us Molly Morey, and I'm in California. Molly, you're joining us from
From Dallas, Texas.
the great state of Dallas in the
That's
city of
right.
Texas.
The great free state of Texas. That's right.
Whoa, little political commentary there.
Well, hey, I think that's going to come into it a little bit. This is the new reality, and it plays into my job now as working in TV and film, and there being a kind of a new landscape for that.
Oh, yeah.
So
Okay. Tell us what
that'll
you
be
do
great to get
in
into.
TV and film and how long have you been doing that? How did
So
you
I've
get
been
into
doing
that?
this. So sure. So we'll take it back to the beginning. I
To
had
conception
ACL.
or to
Not that part.
Genesis?
The beginning of the TV
Oh,
film
okay. All right. Gotcha.
world. Yes,
You can
yes.
go all the way back to Genesis if you want.
Oh no, that's all right. So after my freshman year of college, I was on the couch laid up after knee surgery.
Mm.
And that was my first foray into binge watching TV, which is now a lot more common than it was then. This was before the days of Netflix, before it had really gotten going. So I had the DVDs of Lost, the TV show
Oh,
Lost,
I'm
when it
sorry to hear
was
that.
big. Oh, how come? Not a fan?
Well, I suffered through it, and at the end, I was like, "What in the world?" Sorry, I'm not going to do any
The ending,
spoilers,
no,
but
that's true. The ending veered off a little, but the first few seasons that I got in those 6 weeks on the couch or so,
wow.
I was a huge fan of. And watching this show, I said, I want to do that. I want to write TV and I want to make TV and just be a part of all of that storytelling. And so after college,
Wow.
I got my degree in English and then
Your English
moved
is
back home
very
for a
good.
couple. I'm sorry.
Your English is very good.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Yes. So degree in English language and literature. Moved back home for a couple years and then moved to LA and did a screenwriting course through a program called Act One, which they have two programs. There's one for writing for film and television and one for executives and producing. So these different tracks and fields that people want to get into. It's called Act One. And it was a summer screenwriting course. So I took that, and that was a summer of 2014, and just stuck it out in LA. I knew that I wanted to stay and do that. And so it was some couch surfing, staying with friends for a few months here and there. I lived in 4 different places my first year. Wow. So it really is that one of those stories of really wanting to make it, but having to put up with a lot. And after the program, I had just met some great people who had some connections, which is really what it's all about in Hollywood. It's knowing people and making friends and wanting to do projects together. So I did a short film with this company called Family Theater Productions, who several of my friends work for today.
The short film wasn't called that. That's the name of the production company.
Right, Family Theater Productions. Yes, and they've been around for quite a long time. And it was through someone on that film that I got a job with Voice, working as a driver. I was driving contestants for the show for them. So I did that for about 6 months. And then I knew someone else who got me on another show. And that was the show Grimm, which is this sort of spin on the Grimm fairy tales. That's a police detective sort of show.
Uh-huh.
And I worked for 2 seasons on that. I was a writer's production assistant and then assistant to the executive producers, working in the writer's office. So it was a very detailed look into how a TV show works, from conception, from these writers pitching ideas in the writer's office, all the way through the rewrites, the notes from the network and the studio, all the way through post. Our executive producers were great in allowing me to ask questions and learn from them. And I said, hey, can I come to the editing bay with you and watch what you're going to do there? And so they go and they're working with the editors there and saying, oh, add add some raindrops here, add some footsteps here, and just sort of seeing
Wow.
the magic of how all those sound effects go in, things like
Wow.
that. And then seeing the final episode when it came out on TV, and that was something really special.
That show was called Grimm.
Grimm, yes.
Okay. Yeah, so you were in the room of some of these executive producer meetings?
Yes. Just getting
Wow.
to sit in. Sometimes was taking notes. But other times it was just, they said, hey, come in and learn, watch what we're doing here. These are things you should pick up on. So I really appreciated that from them.
You said there was a show called Voice. Is that right?
Oh, yes. The Voice on NBC. It's a reality.
The Voice.
The Voice. I'm sorry. Yes.
Okay.
It's been around for quite a bit now. It's still going strong.
You say it's on NBC?
NBC. Yes.
How do you spell NBC?
Just
want to make sure I spell it right.
Oh, just the initials.
Oh,
it's the network. Yeah.
And then Grimm, where was that? What was that on?
Grimm was also on NBC. Yeah. So primetime television.
Prime time. And one of those is still going.
Yes. So Grimm ended in 2017. It ran for 6 seasons. And The Voice is going strong. Wow. They're in season 21 or 22, I believe.
Wow.
They were doing 2 seasons a year for quite a while, for maybe 10 years or so. And it's just so consistent and so popular that they were doing 2 seasons a year, one in the fall and one in the spring.
Now, you seem like you have a lot of excitement about this, and you have a lot of happiness about
I do. And I hope that carries on forever. It's something that I've really enjoyed. And
so there was nothing in there that was so dark and gross that you were traumatized?
No. And I think my Catholic Christian faith ties into that a lot, because I relied on that a lot. And it's a big part of my life and always has been since I was growing up. And I'm the youngest of 8 kids in my family. Wow. And 3 of them have entered religious life. They're ordained priests and religious. And so I know that all of my siblings pray for me. We all pray for each other. But there are 3 in particular who have devoted their lives time in prayer. And it's hard in Hollywood, and there are a lot of temptations and crazy things going on, for sure. But I was able to steer clear of that, I think through prayer a lot.
Temptations to like rob banks, murder people?
Not quite, just the projects that you might decide to be on, meeting the right people, just falling in with the right crowds.
Yeah.
Right. So I found I found a great church community.
Okay. Did the people you work with know that you were Christian Catholic? How did you put it?
Yes. And
you wear it on your sleeve? You have tattoos that say I'm a Christian Catholic?
No, but as a Catholic, I am dedicated to meeting that Sunday obligation to attend Mass. So my bosses always knew, hey, I need either Saturday night to go to a Saturday night Mass, or I need Sunday morning. So because sometimes we would be working weekends. And so I would say, hey, I need these times. And they were very respectful, especially after I got to know them and become friends with them, that they'd allow me that time. And if it came to it, I would choose my faith. So it's great that I didn't quite have to choose. So I got the best of both worlds.
So is it because you think that they just respect religious tradition, or they respect you as a person, some combination? Maybe they just assume you voted for Obama. What's going on there?
I think it was both. I became friends with them, so they knew my character as well. We established a personal relationship after so many hours working these long days.
So you do end up talking about personal things here and there?
Yes. Okay. Politics, not so much, because being a conservative is a minority.
Do they talk about politics, and you just stay out of it, or do they make comments?
Yes. So that can be difficult. It's hard to find a balance between just staying under the radar, so that you can do your job well and not cause right, will not cause controversy, not
Right.
cause arguments or any of that.
Right. Yeah.
So finding
Yeah.
the
Totally get
balance,
it.
I think for me was mostly not speaking up,
Hmm.
which it's hard to see in hindsight whether that was the right call or not. But for me now, it's not. I would be speaking up. I am today. On social media, I never posted anything political, and now, throw it at me, whatever, whatever
Okay.
you got. There's too much going on not to speak up about the crazy things in the world and really important issues.
So you didn't speak up because you didn't want to not fit in an
Right.
obvious way. Okay.
Or didn't want to ruffle feathers or lose my job if it came to that. I'm not sure how high
Yeah.
up the ladder would go.
Right.
But I just thought, hey, let's keep the peace. Let's not have
Right.
this tension between us. So
Okay. Yeah.
there were things like the 2016 election
Right.
where I was a reluctant Trump voter just because Hillary Clinton was, we couldn't put her into office. So I voted for Trump and came to see a lot of the good things that he had done. But during that 2016 election, I remember the morning after going into work and just the solemnity
Yeah.
of a
Oh
Trump
yeah.
victory. And it
Yeah.
was the TDS that they talk about was real in 2016.
Say what you mean by that.
The Trump, it's the initials for the Trump derangement syndrome.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry that I have to put
Oh
it
yeah.
that way, but there's so many things that.
No, I was on the campuses. I was there in
Okay.
Los Angeles as well on the college campuses. And
Right.
I remember it very vividly. I remember people blocking traffic in Los Angeles. And I remember thinking to
After.
myself, this makes no sense. Yeah, preventing other Democrats from getting to work. It just didn't make
Logic
it
is
made no
hard
sense
sometimes.
what they were doing.
Right.
And I just thought this is some of the most, of course, then people get really afraid of this kind of response, like we saw with some of the boarding up of stuff with the last cycle,
Yeah, sure.
and full expectation that there would be some kind of riots by Democrats, not from
Right.
Republicans. No one was afraid of Republicans losing. Like when Romney lost, there was no solemnity and there was no fear of Democrats or of Republicans rioting or anything like that because we respect private property.
Right.
So
And the rule of law and
yeah. So by a
many other things.
why by a reluctant Trump voter, you mean that you had a MAGA hat on every
No,
day?
so I didn't know enough about him at the time.
So you were not
So it
wearing a
wasn't,
MAGA hat all the time.
I wasn't.
Okay. I'm just
No. And I
clarifying.
wouldn't risk walking the streets of Hollywood because that could
Because
be
you
dangerous.
would be what? Because you'd be probably
Oh,
mistreated.
sure.
You would be mistreated
Nowadays,
by
people,
Democrats.
people are attacked
Of
nowadays.
course, yeah.
Yeah.
Because of a
Yeah.
hat, because of a
Right.
red hat that has certain words on it. No
Right.
cuss words. No slang, that hurtful slang or anything like that. Just a certain kind of hat. It is
Some
amazing.
initials.
Yeah, it is kind of a derangement syndrome. Well,
Right.
you were there. You can say you were there. Man, what a time.
Right. Right.
Now, did
And then
that?
it went on with other things.
Hmm.
In 2018 with the confirmation of Brett Kavanaugh to the Supreme Court
I've heard of him.
and seeing all that he went through on
Oh yeah.
TV and just having to listen to all the talk around me, just the
At work.
disgusting things that were said at work
At work.
about him and the awful human that he is, and all these things. And
Yeah.
and this is what they believe. They just so
Right.
easily believe what they're fed
Well,
on the mainstream media.
it's an echo chamber too. Would you
Right.
say there's a lot of critical thinking on these sets in this work environment? Like
It
careful,
depends.
critical.
There are some,
Mhm.
but still they somehow reach the same conclusion a lot of times. So it seems like they've thought it through, but then I think, hey, I know what kind of person you are. I know you're smart, but I don't see how you've reached
That
these beliefs about this person or about the situation.
they're not used to being challenged at work. Like, hey, this is actually pretty controversial. There's people that have thought carefully about this on the other side. You don't seem to be interacting with them at all. And then you might even work with them. That doesn't
Right.
seem they don't seem to be aware of that.
Maybe not, because I didn't speak up and others didn't, that maybe they think silence is agreement.
But really,
So,
silence is just you're worried about your job, and
right.
they're not thinking, like they're just unaware that that might be a concern about yours maybe.
Right.
Interesting. Do you still have relationships from that time? Did any of those carry
I
forward?
do, yes. Not partly not as much because of distance and life and careers have all taken us different directions. But I
Mhm.
do keep in touch with a few people from the various jobs that I have had, and then with people from church and other friends that I met as well. So I have kept in touch with some of those pretty well. And that's great to still have those friendships and people that I'm working on projects with to this day. So it's all kind of come full circle. People that I met at the very beginning when I first few weeks that I moved there are still good friends and people that I want to work with.
How did you um well, okay, so that was LA and now
Right.
you're in Texas. What
Yes. So
what's the story with that?
how that happened, I moved to Dallas in early 2020, totally unrelated to COVID, which it just happened very providentially. I moved in February, and I can't imagine trying to have moved here in March
Wow.
or afterward, trying to find housing or a job or any of that. But I have some family here in Dallas, and I'd been coming out probably once, maybe twice a year to visit at Christmas time and see my nieces and nephews grow up. But it was becoming increasingly difficult to be apart and just seeing pictures and videos of the kids growing up. And so I was sort of ready to take a break from the whole industry.
Mhm.
If I wasn't going to be able to find something in Dallas, I was willing to risk that, whether it was going to be for an extended period or, as I hoped, just a short period of time, which it was, thankfully. But I packed up my car and drove out here and had housing in place. And then I found a job teaching school. And so we're not haven't quite made it back into the industry, but I'm teaching school and following things that are happening in media, in looking up production companies in Dallas, all of these things. And it was early 2021, I think, yeah, early last year, when the Daily Wire, I follow the Daily Wire, Ben Shapiro, I listen to those podcasts. I saw that
I've
they
heard of
teamed
him.
up. They teamed up with Bonfire Legend, the production company Bonfire Legend, headed up by Dallas Saunier. And I saw an interview with him and Ben Shapiro. And Ben had bought this movie called Run, Hide, Fight from
Oh yeah.
Dallas
Cool.
to premiere. Yes, are you familiar with that one?
It has something to do with self-defense from a murderous person on a campus of some kind. Is that right?
So yes, it is about a high school student who fights back against some school shooters in her high school. So very controversial, very sensitive. I understand.
Nothing wrong with fighting back. Do you
Right.
think
And
that's
it's
controversial?
heavy. No, but the fact that
It's not controversial to fight back.
that's where I think liberals went astray with it, is
Yeah.
that and mainstream Hollywood, no one wanted to touch this movie because it's so sensitive, and I get that.
Hmm.
But
What's
there are a
sensitive
lot
about
of
it?
movies, things that are violent, that it's a school shooting, and that it's
so it's
and that it's
murders.
about,
In other words, it's murders. It's
right,
attempted
which is
murder.
in
It's
a
murder.
whole lot of action movies.
I've
But for
heard
some
of
reason,
that kind of plot line in a movie before, or a show.
mhm,
I've heard that. Yeah, it's
right.
pretty popular
But
plot line, I think. Yeah.
but it maybe because it looked kindly upon guns and how guns protect people.
Yeah,
Where
self-defense.
right,
So they're
right,
against self-defense, which is what their
because
policies are. Yeah, they're definitely their policies.
right. So
They like defenseless people.
right. So it wasn't
Weird.
a political movie. It wasn't Second Amendment in your face kind of a thing. It was
No,
a
it's fighting back
story
against
about
murder.
this.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Just
Like when people say shooting, I clarify it's really murder you're talking about.
right.
When
You're right. I shouldn't have phrased it.
no, it's fine. I'm not. I don't mean to. I'm just saying my preferences for clarification. I'm glad if you adopt my preference. I'm happy about that. But mine is just because a shooting range will have shooting. The verb is shooting. It's not immoral. If you think morally about it, as soon as you think morally about it, what kind of shooting is immoral? Well, it would be the kind where it's attempted murder and murder. And so that I just use those terms because they're older and they're more reliable. They go back to the Ten Commandments. I
Right.
mean, it's just to say this is not new. It's not a new problem. It's an old problem. Um, the problem of human sin and murder is definitely featured prominently among those sins. In fact, the first person who died in the Bible was murdered, and one wonders what would have happened if Abel had fought back. And would God have said, "Now, Abel, you don't understand. I'm a Democrat, okay, and I created this Democrat world, and you're supposed to be a little Democrat and not fight back." Now, as it turns out, we don't know because that wasn't really part of the story there in Genesis 4. But I have a hard time believing that God would have um, said something like that to Abel. Um,
Right.
what's your sense about it?
In reference to
Just
the
self-defense
movie, I
against
mean,
murder,
because
yeah. No,
sure,
I mean
because
self-defense against murder in the Bible.
oh, I'm fully in support of self-defense. Yes,
Yeah,
and yes, that is, I believe that is justified. Mhm.
yeah. Well, okay, so anytime guns, because Democrats don't like guns, that's why they say it's controversial. But it has nothing. But it is weird that it's really.
It's
I
very
mean, I think
strange.
everybody's against murder, right? So, I mean, but there is a certain political orientation that confuses the tool with the activity.
Right.
The
And it's
activity is immoral.
unfortunate and very confusing because we could all name 100 action movies that have an action hero with a gun who takes
Right.
out bad guys.
Yeah.
So how is that something we can cheer for, but not
Right.
this girl, this
Right.
young girl who's going to protect her classmates?
Right.
And I mean, it
Well,
replicates this a situation that is
I haven't
very
seen the movie,
hits
so I
close
don't,
to home. Okay,
I don't
sure.
know if there should be any spoilers. I haven't seen the movie.
I don't think I've said any spoilers yet. So.
Okay, really? Okay. So it's you haven't said whether she gets an F at the end
Right. I will
because of
leave
her.
that to
Okay.
your viewing.
I don't even know if it's a guy or a girl or whatever, but okay. So that's really cool. So did you work on that film or did you?
I didn't. So I saw this collaboration that was
Yes.
happening.
Okay, cool.
And even before I saw the movie, I had just seen the trailer.
That
And
is an
this team
interesting
up.
collaboration because Ben Shapiro was on the radio back when Trump was running. And
Right. And now he has his whole big, the Daily Wire, which has just grown immensely. And they have all sorts of podcasts and shows and different things, and are getting into narrative entertainment now. And so Bonfire Legend, bringing this movie to them was a great first start. And so
wow.
I just had seen the trailer and knew that I wanted to be a part of this team and this thing that was happening, that they talked about growing a company and more projects and bringing in people that were sort of on the outs.
Yeah.
And so I reached out to Dallas on Instagram and said, hey, I'm a conservative. I was in Hollywood, so I have experience. I love what you're doing. Would there be any kind of
Tell
place for me?
tell us who Dallas is again.
Yeah, so Dallas Saunier is he's a filmmaker, producer who has many years of experience in Hollywood. He was an agent as well, and has this production company called Bonfire Legend.
Okay.
So a lot of experience, has produced some movies with all of the big names that we know: Mel Gibson, Vince Vaughn, Matthew Fox, Kurt Russell, all sorts of people. Has really done it all.
Oh, and so you reached out to him on Instagram?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah, he had a social media presence. I found him there and just thought, what the heck? Because I've done the cold calling, reaching out to so many people in 8 years in Hollywood, or 6 years in Hollywood. The amount of times that you just throw a dart against the wall and see if it'll stick, because you want to work with a company or on a certain project, like a show that you really love.
Right.
And so I had plenty of those. So thought, what the heck? I'm going to do this.
Wow.
And then he wrote back, and we were going back and forth a little bit.
How long did it take him to write back?
24 hours, maybe.
Wow. So is that him himself that's doing the writing, or is it somebody on his staff?
Yeah, it is him.
He wrote back to you.
He did. And then
how many people does he have following him on Instagram?
I think it's up to about 9,000.
9,000. Okay.
I remember even when we were filming in Montana this fall, he was saying, oh, we're getting up to about 7,000. And it was growing steadily. And then even just in a few months, more people are catching on.
Cool. So. Wow. So he got back
to you.
And then,
right, he got back to me. And last year, he was putting together a lunch of local filmmakers and other people that had reached out to him, because I was not the only one. And so he thought, hey, I want to bring this group of young filmmakers together, not just to meet and potentially have them find a job on a film of mine, but also just to introduce them, because there were several of us who hadn't found that film community here in Dallas.
Right.
Because there are ways to connect with people, and sometimes you don't have the right avenues, or you don't connect on Instagram or whatnot. You just don't know about each other, that you're here.
Right.
The same way in LA that I had found friends. It took some time, but there are really solid people there. So to deviate a little bit, I don't condemn many of the people in Hollywood. I have a lot of great friends, and I know they're really solid people trying to do good things there. But it was time for me to get out. And now, in the past couple of years even, I think it's time for even more people to get out and to collaborate and to build companies and create projects and sell those, and doing different things, and kind of having to create an alternative source of entertainment, which Daily Wire and many other companies are doing. Dallas Jenkins with creating The Chosen, which is that hugely popular Jesus and the disciples story, The Chosen, and other companies are doing things as well. But I'm getting off track here. So Dallas had brought this group of people together, and within a month of that lunch, or 2 months, we had already made, the little group of us had made 2 short films together. One that I had written and I got to direct, which was fantastic. It was such a good experience, and I
cool.
learned a lot from it. Yeah. But then just keeping in touch with Dallas over the spring for the few months there, and knowing that he had a project that was maybe going forward by summer. And so I really wanted to stay on his radar and keep in touch. And I got a call from another producer of this company, Amanda. She called me up in the end of June, early July. I was up in Idaho visiting some friends and family. And she said, "Hey, we're shooting this movie in Nashville in July and August. Do you want to come out for it?" And I said, "Yeah, absolutely. I want to come out for that." So that was the first dive into a production with Bonfire. And then from there, I came home back to Dallas for about 2 weeks. And then I was in Montana shooting the next movie with them. And we were up there for about 2 months filming a movie with Gina Carano, who, if you're familiar with
I've
the
heard
story
of her.
that, yes, that also really changed the dynamic of conservatives in Hollywood, and seeing that someone like her could get fired by Disney. And then on the other side, see someone like Ben and the Daily Wire say, "Hey, we're not going to let that happen. We're going to join forces. We have the experience and the talent to make things on our own." And so they connected with Gina, and within a few months of doing that, we're in Montana shooting the movie.
So you worked on a film with Gina Carano.
Carano, yes.
Can you say anything about that film?
June. Sure. Yeah, the teaser trailer is out already. So you get about a minute of footage, and it's called Terror on the Prairie. Comes out sometime this summer on the Daily Wire. And it is it's set in the 1800s, and it's about a young family protecting their homestead against these outlaws. And I don't want to spoil too much more, but you'll get a lot of action and adventure, and
it will probably be
a really good story.
It'll probably be controversial if it involves self-defense, as we've already discussed.
It does. And Gina, because
what was it? Yeah, so
she's controversial.
Oh, she is. Okay. So was it cold in Montana?
It was very cold.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. What were the accommodations like?
Oh, they were great. Our whole production team, the producers, make sure that we're really taken care of. We had both hotels and Airbnbs with just a few people here and there. And so that worked out great.
Did you have to switch between the hotel and the Airbnb in the middle? Or did you just, once you had something, you were there?
Yes, we were pretty established once we had a place.
Nice.
And people did come in at different times, because we had a whole group of people up there for prep, which was a month.
Okay.
And then more people come in for the actual production, which was another month.
Okay.
So
what part were you there for? Both of those?
For both of them, yes.
Ooh.
So I got to, I was assistant to the director on that movie, and that was being there from day one.
Cool.
Just doing what he needed, coordinating his schedule and helping him out and facilitating, talking with the producers, getting him to and from set, all that sort of thing.
What was the food like?
The full months.
What was the food
was
like?
Great.
Food
Dallas himself. Yes. We were in a small town in Montana, just what you think of as the small town charm in a state like Montana in the middle of nowhere. We were just about 30 minutes from Bozeman, which is a big town for Montana. 100,000 people. No, 100,000 people is the population of Montana, I believe. 106,000.
Wow.
In all that land. So we were in the small town of Livingston, and I believe it was our production manager who knew a caterer, and she agreed to cater for the month of production, and even a few weeks of prep as well. But it was fantastic.
Wow.
Just chicken and bison and things that she just made really well.
Bison. So it was just a lady cooking for you? It was this lady that she made all the
Yeah,
food?
she had a small staff of people, but we had
A
about
local lady.
right.
Okay.
And it was for about 65, maybe 65, 70 crew members. Some days were smaller, I suppose, but it could get pretty big. Although that's still a small crew for a production. That's not like the 400 people
How many
that you
hours
might
a
have.
week did you work? How many hours a day did you work? How many hours a week did you work?
They were pretty long days. We were shooting 11, probably 11 hours, 12.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how much time did you have to eat?
We had, I think it's a solid 30 minutes. Yeah. So we would break. There are certain requirements for that
How,
as well. And
how long does it take to get the food? I'm interested in these details. Like, is the food right there, or do you have to go a
it's
long way?
so where we were shooting, we were at this place called the Yellowstone Film Ranch, which is a place in Montana that these guys from Hollywood, I think they'd moved to Montana. They built this fake Western town
Okay.
and hoped to draw Western productions up to Montana. Movies that would be perfect for that setting. It was an old town with a dirt road. It has a blacksmith shop and a sheriff station and a saloon, and it's pretty realistic. Once you're there, it really feels like you're in the Old West.
Wow.
And we filmed one day in there, but otherwise that was our base camp where we set up, where we had catering, the production offices, that sort of thing.
So how
And then
far is
about,
it? I mean, once you have 30 minutes starting, how long does it take for food to get actually in your stomach?
so a lunch on a film set, lunch starts when the last person goes through the line of the buffet line.
Oh, okay.
Does that make sense? So if you're first in line, you might get a 45-minute lunch, hour lunch, I don't know.
Nice.
However long it takes for that last person to get through.
Okay. I gotcha. So it's like buffet style.
Right.
What did you have for
And then
breakfast?
Did set
Did
up.
they give you breakfast?
Yes, we had breakfast as well. It
What's
was,
for breakfast?
oh,
I have to know this.
sure. My go-to was just the egg and bacon burrito, just the breakfast burrito.
Uh-huh.
And coffee and tea and all sorts of snacks all throughout the day. So
How's the coffee?
they took care of us. Coffee was good. I was more of a tea drinker on set, really kept me warm.
That's good.
But about that weather, we did even
Yeah.
get snow for that first week.
Wow.
And even when we got some sunshine, it was still 40 degrees with a great wind chill. It was the second windiest valley in the US, they told us,
Oh, wow.
and up to 20-mile-an-hour winds or something like that.
I'm assuming you had an armor. Were there weapons?
We did.
Okay,
Mhm.
you had armor.
Yeah.
And it wasn't Alec Baldwin, I'm assuming.
It wasn't. And that
Too
hit
soon?
us hard because
Yeah. I mean,
film crews,
I hesitate saying that because it is tragic. I'm not
right,
making light of it. Maybe I was, and maybe I shouldn't be.
right.
I don't mean to
Mistakes
be.
were made, and it's
I don't mean to make light of it at all. But
sure, I understand. Mistakes were made, and it's very unfortunate. And
yes.
the day that it happened, I remember when we wrapped that night, the producer called the crew together. I hadn't heard, I'm not sure how many people had, because it was just a few hours after it happened.
You
And
were
so end of
on
day,
that project when that happened.
right. So we're up in Montana. And so just
Wow.
the combination of being on a film set and growing close with our group of people in Montana,
Mhm.
and knowing how close film crews get,
Yeah.
because they have to, whether or not they like it,
Yeah.
working these long hours, needing all these
Right.
departments
Yeah.
to work in unison
Yes.
for your project to be successful.
Wow.
Then also being a Western, they were
Mhm.
filming a Western, we were filming a Western,
Yeah.
and just all these things that came together.
Right.
And the fact that as such a tragic accident, it could have been anyone, right?
Right. That's true.
We were using guns, blanks, all these things, but it could have been anyone. And so that was tough. Yeah.
Hmm. Okay. I think the main reason I had that is just because he annoys me with his political stuff. And
Right.
that's why I said what I said. But still very tragic.
Mhm.
It's tragic for him too, because
Mhm. Oh, that's something
he will never he will
ugh,
think about that all the time.
yeah, he'll
I
carry
can't I
that for the
can't
rest of his
imagine. I can't imagine. I cannot imagine. But yeah. So dinner.
life. On set.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Any good?
well, so there's breakfast and lunch, and then we would usually wrap by so you break you break at the 6 hour mark, 5.5 to 6 hours for lunch. And then by the time you would hit the next 6 hours, we were usually wrapped.
Oh,
So
okay.
it was only if we went past 12 hours that there's another official meal, which is called second meal, that would be brought into set. But most days it was just the breakfast and lunch, and then we'd be wrapped. And there'd be snacks throughout the day, and I could grab something like a power bar and some fruit to go or something.
Mm-hmm.
Since by the time I got home at 9 o'clock, it was usually just going right to bed because
Yeah,
we
I
were so
bet.
wiped.
Were you able to go to mass on
Yes.
Sundays or at least once a
So
week?
we did have weekends off on this project. Some in LA I didn't, but we just shot Monday through Friday on these ones.
Okay.
So my Sunday mornings started with mass.
So is it like kind of a union schedule thing? Is it who's making the rules on how things go?
So these projects, the one we did in Montana was non-union,
Mhm.
for a variety of reasons having to do with some COVID protocols and restrictions and different things that we were going to film in Nashville, and then there were more requirements there. And so we ended up in Montana and having a little more freedom with all of that,
Yeah,
but still taking precautions and
right.
not going crazy. So
You said that you directed and wrote a short film yourself. What was that
I
like?
did. That was
How
great. So we're looking for an outlet for it. It may just be releasing it on YouTube or sending to friends, because we may not take it the festival route. You can enter short films in festivals and things like that. But as this was one of our first together, we know we can always keep growing and getting better.
how long was
But
it?
we were just a group of, it's about 13 minutes. So it's a short film, but we were just a group of filmmakers that wanted to make a project together. So we started saying, hey, who has a script or who wants to write a script? And so I wrote something and pitched it to the group, and they liked it. So we decided to make it, and
What's all
somehow I
involved?
got to be
What's
the
all involved
director
with
of
that?
it as well.
What's all involved with that? How much does that cost? Do you have the same thing where you
We
bring
did
in
it on
the
a
burrito, the egg burritos and
mhm,
good
yeah,
coffee?
one of our producers, my friend Sydney, put all of that forward. So everyone paid a little bit, but it was very ultra low budget. It was just bringing props and wardrobe that we had, and the camera guys, I'm sure, I don't know what they all that they brought, but it was fantastic. Jake, my friend, who was our DP on the project, helped me a lot as the director, as a first time director,
Yeah.
letting me know if we got the shot or whatnot, and then letting me decide if I wanted to do another take or if I liked the way that they executed the lines that I had written. So that was fantastic. That was kind of a dream.
Did you edit it or did somebody else edit it?
So the DP edited it as well, and then sent me a cut of it, and I offered some notes, and he made some changes, and so I think that worked out.
What's a DP?
DP is the director of photography,
Okay.
so they're um, the main camera guy, if you will, that works really closely with the director to be choosing all the shots and
Mhm.
what the whole overall movie is going to look like, and and all that. So they have a very crucial role.
Gotcha.
And I don't have experience in the camera world at all. So that was great that we had people with different experience that they brought to the project.
Wow. So you've worked on one film for that's associated with the Daily Wire somehow.
Oh, so two. The
Two.
first one that we did in Nashville was called Shut In. And
Nashville.
that came out,
Okay.
right. That one came out in February on the Daily Wire.
Shut In.
Shut In.
Okay. And that's on the Daily Wire.
Right. And then the second one was Terror on the Prairie.
And that's out already. Anybody in
That
there
comes
that I
out
would know
this
about?
summer. There were some
And
names.
Shut In?
Yes, Shut In. So which one
Does-
are you asking about? For the
Shut In
cast?
now. Yeah.
Shut In.
Anybody we would know? Ben Shapiro, does he make an appearance?
He doesn't get a cameo. No, he didn't.
He
I mean,
doesn't? No.
I'm sure if he would
And
like to,
he
he
somehow
could.
huh. Okay. He must be too famous for that.
So we had a couple young, sort of new stars. They haven't been in a whole lot, but they did fantastic. Rainey Qualley was our main female lead, and Jake Horowitz. I'm mixing up his character name and his real name. His character is Rob, but Jake Horowitz and Vincent Gallo,
How,
who is
how do people see the film?
You have to subscribe to the Daily Wire.
Okay.
So
if you
in
subscribe,
the
you
way
can see
that
it?
it would, right. So in the way that these streaming services, your Netflix and Hulu and whatnot,
Yeah.
the Daily Wire has a subscription fee to be able to watch their movies. Some of their content is free and some is not. So the movies fall under the behind the paywall.
How much do you think the subscription is, in your opinion?
How much do I think it is?
Yeah.
I think, well, the middle of the road, there's different tiers, but I think it's
Okay.
about $12. They do deals all
Per
the
day?
time, 20% off. No, I'm sorry, for the month, or you can get an annual subscription. But
Okay.
you're looking at $12 a month, which is pretty average now for all of these streaming services.
That's how they afford to get Gina. There's enough people.
And hopefully to just keep growing this company and doing more and more movies.
Right.
So we did 2 in 2021, but that's not the end. They have plans, they're reading scripts,
They got plans.
developing new things.
Cool.
Right. And really
Yeah.
trying to grow this alternative space where it's this content that's still really entertaining,
Mhm.
high quality,
Mhm.
but that it's not pushing any kind of woke message.
Normal length, right? Normal,
Right.
like
Sure.
it's
Yeah.
not 13 minutes, right? It's something
No,
else.
your runtime of hour and a half, 2 hours,
Okay.
and high
But
quality content.
it won't
That's
put you asleep, but it's not woke.
right. Which is a lot of times what we want, just an escape from reality, from the chaos of the world. And nobody wants to watch a movie where they're going to have a message shoved down their throat. And so this is just,
Yeah. The
it's just
universities
good,
and
fun
Hollywood
entertainment.
are the universities and Hollywood are both just echo chambers of the left. It's so weird. And it's just annoying. I think pretty much any human community that can get annoying if they're like that, but it's especially annoying with institutions like that for me.
And what's fascinating about the conservative side and conservatives in media and Hollywood, and I guess this alternative Hollywood, is that I feel we're a lot more accepting of all viewpoints. So even though we've sort of gone to do this movie with a lot of conservatives, there were liberals as well, who I guess we'll say were true liberals in that they're
Right.
middle of the road, just the very rare breed now
Yeah.
that were middle of the road, but that they saw this story, they read a script and said, hey, that's a great story. I want to be a part of that. I have such and such experience to bring to this project. I don't care that that there are conservatives on this movie. And so
Right.
that's great. And I really appreciated people like that.
Wow.
But that all of us could know that they were liberal, but still say, hey, you are good at what you do. Come on and work on this project. It's
I
not a big
see.
deal.
I see. You got that Bernie hat, but
Right.
can you please come with me? I need to do this thing with you.
Yeah. If you're good, sure. And you're not crazy.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, what a concept.
Right.
Molly, what did you do on Shut In? What was your job?
On Shut In, I was a production assistant. So that can be a variety of tasks on set. Anything from refilling coolers and taking out trash to driving the cast members. I was a couple of the talent chauffeurs, getting them to and from set, hotel, and whatnot. And just sort of helping run things, locking up the set, which is sort of it's being on walkie-talkie, and when the cameras are rolling, you got to keep people out of the scene. So we were on location in this house in the middle of nowhere, Nashville, and we need to know when the cameras are rolling, and you don't want to interrupt that scene.
Yeah.
And so it was stopping people at the door, and then when the director calls cut, then you can let people through and that sort of thing. So
what kind of people are you talking about that are going through this place? Is it just the public or?
Oh no, sorry, it's actually just the crew.
Just the crew.
Because not everyone's on walkie-talkie, but they all have different things that they're supposed to be doing.
So you have a lot of power with the walkie-talkie, and does that power go to your head? Because I love walkie-talkies, and as soon as I get one, I know I'm powerful.
It doesn't. Mostly I'm being directed to do things, which I am more than happy because.
Gotcha. But you still can squawk on that thing, and you can be, got an intruder over here in Bay 12.
Sure, I'll try that one of these times. I haven't quite.
What was the food situation there for Shut In? Was it the same or similar to?
It was
quality that you had in Montana.
COVID restrictions were a little more of a hindrance in that we had to-go boxes of meals.
Okay.
Instead of the buffet, which was more relaxed.
Yeah.
So just the quality, the setting where it's brought in, it just was.
Did you have to wear your mask the whole time?
We did in Nashville.
Ew. Are you a mask fan? Sorry, I guess I should have asked you first before I said ew, because then maybe
I'm not.
Well, you don't feel like you have to say that. I know, this is not one of those sets where you get.
I will tell you, I have not worn a mask. So I had to on the plane when I flew to and from Montana last fall, but I can't remember. I think when we dropped the mask mandate here in Texas in March of last year, I think that's the last time that I wore a mask. And even then had been a year too long.
Do you mind if I just ask you, just for our safety here, if you would mind wearing a mask for the rest of this interview? Just because
I would mind. I will get up.
I just want to make sure people know that we care about them and we are concerned about their safety.
If they can wear the mask, if that protects them.
Yeah.
That's great.
Oh, no, it's about protecting other people. You don't understand. It's about, we don't care if you're getting murdered in a school, but we do want to control your behavior so that someone else doesn't get sick from you, even though you're healthy.
The amount of times I would have just said, don't worry about me. That's not on you.
Yeah.
You have the mask. Don't worry about me.
Right. Wow.
So that's where I stand. Yeah.
So it was basically Halloween with all the masks. Obviously the actors are not.
And that was something, unfortunately, that was a certain union requirements that we had to go along with that.
So union requirement.
When we had some more freedom in Montana, our teams are very supportive of everyone having that choice.
Did they ever ask you if you were if you got the V word? Actually, was it out at that time? I guess it was kind
I
of,
think it
maybe.
was early last year. I don't
Yeah.
know that I was ever directly
All right.
asked. It may have come out in conversation, but
So
yeah,
you,
wasn't a requirement.
so obviously the actors are not wearing them. Is everybody else wearing them on set besides the actors?
Yes,
Or maybe the actors were wearing them.
they weren't. Um,
Funny how that works. You can kill people as long as you're acting.
right. They would a little bit offset when they're coming to and from set, but then between their scenes, they would just go into a holding area where they
Okay.
could take a second to relax or even go back to their trailers, which were just up the road, like 30 yards or something, really close to this house, maybe not even that far. So they'd be able to take a break there. But it is
Shotgun.
interesting how that.
Was that based on a book? That film?
No,
Okay.
it's an original concept.
Um, the food was in boxes. What was in these boxes?
All sorts of things.
It's
We'd
like a
have
Happy Meal.
sandwiches. No, not quite that. We'd have
Do you have a
sandwiches,
toy? Was there a toy in there?
fried chicken, since we're
Ooh,
in Nashville,
nice,
fried chicken.
nice.
Just different meats and salads and pastas and all that. But again,
Awesome.
hard to do for a big group of people. So
How was the coffee?
the coffee, I don't know that I drank much because it was so
Coffee,
hot
your
there.
tea.
I
Oh,
was
yes. Okay.
We were filming in Nashville in August. That
How long
was
does it take? Now you said it came out just a couple months ago. How long did it take for them to fix all the issues and get
so
it out?
post was I think about 6 months from
Wow.
August
Do you think
to
that that's
February.
solid work? They're working on it solidly for that time?
I'm not sure the whole process of everything that goes into that and how many people are working on it, and the editor has footage and goes through it with the director, and then the producer has many producers actually have all of their input of changing things, so there's many people involved and it's a whole process, but I don't know the ins and outs.
Gotcha. Cool. Wow, this is a lot of interesting. So you seem like you're excited about the future of these kind of projects.
Especially now, I think I always had this excitement in Hollywood as well. Every time, so I worked at Universal Studios for many years, maybe 4 or 5 years, and would drive around the back lot at Universal Studios, often on a golf cart, and like running an errand or going up to the gas pumps to fill up the golf carts or something like that. And just had this creative excitement of just knowing what kind of things take place here, driving through the fake set of New York. They have this area that looks like New York. There's an old Western town there as well. So these things have just always brought excitement, and they're just so creative, so clever, all
Yeah,
these things. And
yeah.
I've
You
I've
you,
always liked that.
you love the
And,
creative aspect.
right. And so a lot of it was, I still have some of that, but I think I'm more excited now about the different things that are happening with with the crew and the cast and people that you work with. So
Yeah,
whereas in LA, I think I was more involved in what show or project I was working on, or what I wanted to do, or what I wanted to make, and had such a focus on that.
hmm,
And that's great and fine to have even now. We can all have passion projects and things that we want to make. But I found how important working with the right people is, and
yeah,
having a support and a community. And it may be a result of where we are now in politics, because politics and culture and entertainment, they're all intertwined, whether or not we like it.
right.
They're all connected.
Yeah,
They all flow from one to another.
yes,
And so with everything going on now, I think really brought conservatives and other filmmakers that don't want to work in LA or don't want to feel like they might lose their job if they speak up about certain things, that want to find other like-minded people.
Yeah.
And so that's what's great, that Dallas has built this team of people, that he's brought these young filmmakers onto multiple projects now. And picking up other people that we had. Well, Gina, for example, by collaborating with her after everything with Disney. A couple other cast members that we had.
Yeah.
Tyler Fisher is a stand-up comedian who he's great. He has a lot of good material that makes fun of a lot of what's going on right now. And he's in our cast. So it brought together this really eclectic group that you may not imagine together, but that were brought together by everything going on now.
That's awesome.
So
it's exciting. It's exciting future. Yes. Yeah. I'm glad to see this happening. Right. And it kind of makes you wonder, why didn't it happen already? I mean, it seems like it could have always been this way.
Right. I think things haven't been this bad.
Gotcha.
This crazy, this much messaging being pushed in Hollywood that conservatives are saying, hold on, wait, I used to just tell these really middle of the road stories with you. Where are you going? Where are you taking this?
Yeah.
Okay, I guess I have to go work with these other people and just make things that flyover country, if you want to call them that, or just families, your average
normal
Joe.
people.
Yeah. Right.
So it's sad because I hear you and it sounds like you were a true believer. I mean, like you came out, you were wanting to work in this industry. You believed in the medium and the creative process, and you were willing to be uncomfortable doing this, right? Long hours, job uncertainty, crashing on people's couches in a weird area called Los Angeles. And they lost you. You're not the only one. They're losing true believers, people that actually believe in what you're doing and have the skills. Sad.
Right.
Well, I'm glad that, people are seeing an opportunity with this. I hope it continues.
Right. And I really think that there's the audience for it as well.
I agree.
That not only, I've said a lot from a filmmaker and a crew member's perspective of what we're running into, but we know that there's an audience out there. So it's not that, our projects are only going to be successful if we go do these ones with Disney in Hollywood.
Yeah.
There's an audience. If we go work with the Daily Wire, there's going to be hundreds of thousands of people that are going to watch these movies.
Yeah.
So that's very encouraging.
That's awesome. How can people get involved if they want? If there's a young aspiring filmpreneur out there, what can they do?
So, knowing the right people and making those connections is how it's always going to work. It's how I got every job that I had in LA, whether it was a one-day job or 6 months or a year. It was from meeting someone. And so that's something that I found difficult when I first moved to Dallas, especially because it was early 2020, right when COVID hit. And so any groups that would have been meeting or a filmmaker, anything like that, just the chance for people to meet in person wasn't really there. But I would suggest first for people to do their research before even throwing out, I'm sure that Dallas is always willing to grow a team and bring on more people, but he's just he has the one company. Okay. But what we're going to need is many bonfire legends, many companies like his who are producing all sorts of movies. So it's important to be finding other filmmakers and connecting, but also doing your research in the area that you're in, because I found Dallas, first of all, by discovering that he was a Dallas-based filmmaker. So it's doing a whole lot of Googling or whatever search engine you use to look up people in the area, to look up people that are doing the kind of things that you want to do. I'm also a huge fan, to segue a little bit, I'm a huge fan of Hallmark movies and Hallmark style, just your really family friendly, feel good kind of movies. And so I've reached out to all of those sorts of people, even the heads of the networks who haven't heard back from yet. I can give them my contact info again if they're going to watch this. But just
Yeah. What is your contact info?
oh well, actually, for anyone that does want to reach out, it's just Molly Morey 6 on Instagram is going to be the best way to reach me. That's really my only social media
How do you spell
presence.
that?
It's just my name, Molly Morey, with the number 6 at the end.
But how do you spell it?
Oh, MOLLY MOREY.
And then how do you spell 6?
Just the number, the digit.
The number 6.
Right.
And then that's your Instagram.
That's my Instagram handle. Yes.
Okay. And so you don't want to tell us, you don't want to
can.
tell us the Twitter handle that you have where you write, you constantly attack Alec Baldwin and
I had a Twitter years
and
ago.
own
That
the
is
libs.
Twitter is an
kidding.
awful place.
Yeah, it is. It's a cesspool.
I would tell everyone to get off Twitter.
Well, we're on Twitter, so.
Okay. Well,
I mean, but
okay,
all I do is I post pictures of like the episodes. That's
okay.
much,
A few
or
of us need to be
I share
there.
an article or something, but I don't do anything else.
You're taking the heat for the rest of us then, because I just couldn't do it.
Nobody even knows I exist on Twitter, so I guess I just post it for myself.
Oh, well, it'll be seen.
Yeah, it's possibly to be seen. I mainly have it so people can contact me by direct message if they want.
Right.
So
right.
It's pretty
and
easy
I'm
at Republican Prof.
And I'm one who has had, good experience from connecting with people on Instagram and
well, yeah, you got
so.
that thing through Instagram
Right.
direct message. Wow, what a
Right.
concept. That's great.
Right.
Are you on LinkedIn?
I am on LinkedIn. I'm not very active.
Yeah.
But I have a profile there. So
you're the one that's not active on LinkedIn. I knew there was somebody because it's so active. Just kidding. So I'm getting more active too. I'm posting stuff on like with our episodes and stuff.
Right.
So
That's
I'll post this one on LinkedIn. Definitely.
Okay, great.
Because
sure.
I mean, a few hundred people that see it. They all know people that want. There's going to be somebody that wants to get involved in film and.
Sure.
So
yeah, and otherwise I would just say, besides trying to connect with people and find people that you respect, and it's also going to be sticking to your guns.
Okay.
Not literally necessarily, but
are you packing heat? Are you trying to say something?
Oh, I wouldn't
right
tell that. Right. Gotta
so stick to your guns.
Right. Just
if you're a lib, then okay.
Then I mean, maybe do that as well, but go back to Hollywood. Go back to LA.
Hollywood. Yeah.
That's where they're doing what they want to do.
You're not saying that because, well, what if they don't like their fellow libs and the libs are like, these people are crazy, but I still like Bernie.
Well, sure. That's great. Maybe I should separate between far left progressive from liberal. We'll take the people that are talented and that want to tell good stories. That's great.
And they can get along with people that don't agree with them necessarily.
Just be
that's
open.
The key. That's really the key thing. Just getting along with people. Respect people. Respect the workplace. For God's sake, respect the workplace. These people are trying to make a living. Not everybody thinks the same way that you do. Mm-hmm. And it might be that you're very passionate about your politics. There should be a place to discuss it. But it's really kind of hard to have that kind of discussion on a project like that, creative project. But it's pretty cool to know that you are like people wouldn't be surprised if you voted for Trump on a crew. That's kind of cool.
Right. And they
Because
wouldn't.
you can
Right.
relax.
Right.
Like, it's not going to jeopardize your way of making a living.
Right.
Not
And we
like
could have
yeah,
conversations if we wanted, which
sure.
we did. Once I got to know some of the people that lean more conservative, then I would bring things up with them. But you could have a
Right.
discussion aloud at lunch with people walking by you.
Just in case anybody is not sure that you're serious about that, we're going to illustrate that right now. Molly, I voted for Hillary.
Okay.
I wrote her name in for dog catcher.
Mm-hmm.
Local dog catcher office was open, so I wrote her name in because I think she would be a
Great.
good dog catcher. I honestly do.
All right.
She
And you are entitled to that. I
yeah.
can give you some reasons why you might want to reconsider. I mean, it's a little late if you've cast your vote,
Well, it
and
was
can't take that back. But
later. I realized that she might not be eligible for it because I think you have to be a resident of Orange County. But I mean, I'm up for a little voter fraud if you are. Oh, I shouldn't have said that. YouTube's gonna take this off now.
pull this video.
Crap. Yeah, we had one guy say the EF word twice. He said it twice in 3 hours. He's actually a producer, film producer.
But is
She,
the video still up?
no, they took it down. And well, no, it's on up now because I
Oh,
appealed.
oh,
I had
okay.
to appeal though. I had to listen to 3 hours. Anyway, yeah.
Hmm.
Well, anyway, yeah. That was Brad Cummings. He produced The Shack film called The Shack.
Okay, that name yeah, his name
Made.
sounds familiar.
I said, Brad, this little film. How much did it gross? 100 million. How much is the budget? 20 million. Just like doing the numbers. I'm like, okay, don't say the EF word anymore, Brad.
That's
Anyway,
yeah, that's a good.
he's great. I love him. He also sold millions of copies out of his garage of that book because he was the publisher of the book.
It's the way to
Anyway,
do it.
yeah, self-publishing. I love the independence of this. I love we are not tied at the hip to Holly weird. We can be normal people and do good work, creative work that's entertaining, wholesome,
Right,
sometimes even sparks a good conversation.
right.
Awesome.
And across all genres and ages,
Yeah. Yeah.
the
Yeah.
Daily Wire right now is doing more adult action
Okay.
drama. Like
Hold on.
you're rated.
Not X rated. You
No,
don't mean adult like that. Okay.
no, I'm sorry.
All right.
Like for your 18 to 35 beyond, they're
Gotcha.
sort of
We
appealing
have
to
to
that.
make these because LA.
Fair,
That's what that
fair,
word
my
means.
mistake.
And LA.
Just
So
just for language and action violence, they'll get the R
yeah.
rating. If they
Okay.
were in the Hollywood, I'm not sure if they do official ratings over at the Daily Wire, but they fall
Yeah,
under
I was
that
like,
category.
do they have cussing in these things with the Daily Wire?
Yes,
Oh, there's cussing with Republicans? Do you cuss?
I don't.
Okay. But you will not fire Ben if there's cussing in these movies.
No,
Okay. You don't give Gina a hard time. Did you meet Gina? Did you talk to her?
I did. Yeah, yeah. We
What's she like as
with
a
a
person?
small crew, and because of I'm sorry.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, well, because of our small crew and my position as well as assistant to the director, who
Mm-hmm.
our director, Michael Polish, was fantastic. And he worked so closely with the cast.
Mm-hmm.
So he and Gina spent a lot of time discussing on set, even offset, having calls and talks. And I'm friends with someone who was helping Gina as well as her assistant, my friend Courtney.
Cool.
So there's a whole lot of time that I got to spend with these people and get to know them.
Is Gina cool?
She's great. She's fantastic.
Is she a mask person? Does she constantly tell you to put the mask on?
She didn't. She was very respectful. Yeah.
Cool.
She's very, very genuine and kind, and it
That's
couldn't
awesome.
have been a better number one, as I've said before, and the number one on the call sheet, who's often the primary cast member, right? Who the production revolves around a lot
Yeah.
of times, and they can be a diva, because I know that from being in LA and seeing the way that people treat celebrities,
Right.
and a lot of times kind of rub me the wrong way of
Yeah.
how we treat celebrities,
Right.
like they're so far above.
Mhm.
And it's just not even right. Not because I was someone lower than them and it was jealous or angry, just the whole thing feels weird. It's off.
Yeah.
The
So
reverence and the way that we go out of our way to do these things. And it was not like that on our set, because our cast didn't even want that.
so with Gina on there, it's not like
Mhm.
you said. I mean, how many times did you ask her for her autograph? Just to get a sense of, was it every day?
I didn't. I asked her for a
Oh,
picture. I have a couple pictures with her.
okay.
Yeah.
And
But she
can
was
you
always accommodating, was always so friendly and
what's
happy.
her
And
phone number? Can you share that
I
on this
cannot share
podcast?
that.
Okay.
No, I would never.
Well,
But
okay,
there were times
mailing,
that we were out.
either a mailing address or
You're not getting it from
kidding.
me. There were times that we
We're
were out in
kidding. If
public
she
as
ever sees
well.
this, we're kidding, Gina. We're kidding. Yeah.
There were times that we're out in public and people would recognize her, and she was just very kind and would
That's
give
awesome.
autographs and
You know, the funny
take
thing
pictures.
about
And
me asking these questions is I
what?
barely know who she is. I mean, I knew she got fired. I know what she looks like. I'm
Mhm.
not even really sure what she was fired from. I think it was some Disney thing or something. Was it
Yes,
a
one of those Star Wars series. It's called The Mandalorian.
See, okay, that's what I was missing is I didn't even know that Disney was doing Star Wars.
Right. I
That's
think
how
it was
out of it I am.
the first Star Wars series, and now they have several in development. They're doing all these spin-offs and different things. But that was the first big one. It was hugely popular.
How did she get fired from that again? What was the controversy?
Several tweets and different things that she said. One was around the time of the election, and I don't want
Was
to
it like,
put words in her mouth, but it was something like, let's have voter integrity. Like, let's beware of voter fraud. Let's have these certain
oh,
regulations.
you just said it again.
I know.
Okay.
Oh, right. And
Right.
then there was something when it came to
She said that
COVID.
those were her tweets that she said, and that's what got her fired.
Yes, sort of to
Okay.
paraphrase. And then there was something which was even more was odd as well, when so COVID has turned people against each other, right? We've seen that, and there are sides, there are all the different beliefs.
Mhm.
And Gina pointed out that all of these neighbors and countrymen turning against each other was something that happened in Nazi Germany, in that neighbors and friends turned on each other for
Yeah.
these different beliefs or
Right.
different ways that they interpreted things about people
Yeah.
that they may not even have had correctly.
Mm-hmm.
And so she pointed that out, and it wasn't even a Nazi comparison in an offensive way or anything, but that was another one that people didn't like. And Disney was getting a lot of flack for it, and they're trying to save face, and so that was, firing her was the thing to do.
Wow.
So there were a couple instances like that. And she tells it great on Ben Shapiro's podcast. She did one with him early last year. So I would encourage everyone to go watch that.
Take a look at that.
Yeah. So Gina and Ben, and then Dallas does one with Ben as well. So if you want to hear more from Dallas himself about this whole thing that he has going and his background and all that.
Okay. Yeah.
It's I think it's called the Sunday Special. That's on the Daily Wire. So
I've heard of it. Yeah.
Ben and Gina and Ben.
Okay.
So, and you'll hear in her words from all that. So it'll be more accurate and thorough information, more than I can give.
Okay. So to get a hold of you, don't go through Gina necessarily, but just go directly through your email. or
Yes.
your Instagram, I should say.
I don't think Gina will give my number either. I think we have a pact
Oh, that's
that
cool.
neither of us will give each other's numbers
I
out.
appreciate that. I like that. Is there anything else we didn't get to you want to share, talk about?
This was great. I appreciate the chance to be able to share all this and just
Yeah.
hopefully encourage people and tell them that there is a place for you out there. If you're a filmmaker, if you're still in LA, you
Arts.
can stay there and you know, do what you can there. But also if you want to leave, that there's a community, there's going to be people all over the country that are making things and
That's
building
awesome.
companies.
Yeah.
As I said, Dallas Jenkins. There's another network like Hallmark Channel called GAC Family. That's also it's cable TV. You have a series called Vindication, which is written by Jared O'Flaherty. So people can look up all these things that I'm saying that are it's a sort of faith infused, not necessarily faith based, but it has faith in it, and it's a detective show, episodic TV. So all sorts of things going on. So it is exciting, and there are opportunities out there. You just have to go looking for them and contact people. Don't be afraid to reach out. And not every dart is gonna stick in the wall. You may not get a response from everyone, but
don't be afraid to reach out.
You can't not get a response if you don't try. Did I say that right?
Totally.
Right.
Makes sense. Well, thank you so much for coming on today, Molly, and sharing your experience and your perspective on arts and entertainment.
Yes.
Well, take care.
Okay. Thanks so much.
Yep, you bet.